what happened the day of the shooting when this story broke? What happened? What did you hear? What went through your mind? What went down that day?
I was at home, and I was actually in my room relaxing, and I started hearing a sound, and it sounded like someone tapping on my window. I'm about a block away from the church.
Okay.
And my older daughter ran in. She was cleaning dishes in the kitchen, and she ran into my room and said, "Dad, doesn't that sound like gunfire?" And I told her, I said, "That sounds like someone tapping on the window," and it was just a rapid tapping. And I went to the window and opened the window, and I could not see anything. But I followed her into the kitchen. When I got into my kitchen, it sounded definitely more volume, and I could tell that it sounded like gunfire. I said, "Oh my God, it sounds like gunfire." I ran to my safe and opened my safe, and my daughter ran outside, got in her car, and drove around the block while I got my AR-15 out of the safe. And I ran back and I grabbed a box of ammunition, and she came in and said, "Dad, there's someone in tactical gear shooting the Baptist church." And I said, "Call your mom, my wife, and my daughter that's here now, and her husband were working on their house. We're building their house. And they were over at my property that's 5 miles down the road." And she called them, and I said, "Stay put, stay put. We have an active shooter situation at the Baptist church. Just stay where you're at," because I knew they were far enough out of town. They were in no danger.
Right.
I opened the box of ammunition, and I grabbed a handful because I was hearing shots one after another, rapid pace. And I just grabbed a handful, and I started loading a magazine, and I started out the door. And my other daughter, I told her, "Load me another magazine." And I knew she couldn't come give me a magazine. It was busy work. I was trying to give her something to do, keep her in the house.
That's amazing. You had that forethought. I was thinking you needed. So you actually you had the time and spatial awareness to think, give her something so that she's distracted. I've
been a foreman before in construction, and sometimes you just got to give busy work to someone.
Wow.
to get them out of your hair. Yes.
Okay.
So, but my daughter is a great girl, and she's actually I started training all my kids when they were 8 years old. They were NRA distinguished experts.
Wow. Okay. So they know their way around firearms.
Yeah, I was a instructor, but I did not want anybody else that might be a target.
Right. Wow.
So there, and I ran out of the house, and some of them people said, "Why did you run out barefoot?" Because I didn't have shoes on.
The simple answer?
Well, my answer was every time I heard a shot, I was thinking that was a sign to someone else.
Right.
That shot was a sign that he was shooting at another person every time I heard a shot fire. And I didn't have time to put shoes on. And so I ran over there, and I ran across the neighbor's house that was right across from there. And as I approached the neighbor's house, I see a gray SUV sitting in the middle of the highway in park with the engine running and the driver's side door open. And it was out of place. And I was focused on that, trying to figure out that, and kind of looking back behind the vehicle. And I don't know that I had tunnel vision or what the deal was, but I saw the shooter come from around the front of the vehicle.
Okay.
And at this time he had a handgun in his hand. And I didn't know, but my daughter said that it had an AR-15, but when I saw him, he had a handgun.
Okay.
And he had a tactical helmet on. like a SWAT team would use, with a black visor, and he had Kevlar vest, and you could tell it was a bulletproof vest. He had that on, and you know, I'm a Christian.
Sure.
And I believe at that point, and maybe this sounds a little off, just some of your viewers that aren't Christians, I believe the Holy Spirit was on me, because I had the presence of mind to look at what was going on. And as we exchanged fire, I noticed that the side was one of those tactical vests that Velcros across, meaning he has Kevlar in the front, Kevlar in the back, nothing in the side.
How far away was he at this point, for context, would you say?
20 yards.
Okay, so 20 yards, so you can see that clearly, and someone like you is trained with firearms, 20 yards is well within what you would practice with.
I had a AR-15 with an EOTech on it.
Sure.
And I trained at 20 yards. That's no real great, amazing shot. I shot between the two Kevlar plates.
Well, that is a great shot with the not to just heap praise, because I know everyone else will, but to have that frame of mind and, like you said, that foresight. I know people are going to be asking, did this come with your NRA instructor training, military background? Because most people would not think to look for this, to be aware of your surroundings. It is remarkable.
Well, that's what I'm telling you. I can't explain the clarity of mind that I had. I can't explain it. And not only that, but I was using the neighbor's Dodge pickup truck. He had a 4-wheel drive Dodge pickup truck in his driveway, and I was using it. All he had for a shot for me is my head, because I was behind the truck and using it for cover.
Okay.
And we exchanged fire, and he hit the neighbor's car's windshield. He hit the neighbor's house, and he got into the vehicle, and I fired it again. And he fired 2 more shots through his side. Well, actually, he fired 2 shots through his side window first, and I noticed the 2 distinct pistol shots coming through the sides of the window. And I fired my AR-15 again, and it took the window down. It fell.
Okay.
And I took another shot. And at this point, I'm shooting where his head would be.
Right.
And he started the vehicle, and he turned down 539, which is a highway, and he took off. And I took one more shot at what I perceived would be about his head through the back windshield, and it shattered.
Okay.
And he blasted down the road. I looked to my left, and there was another pickup truck at the stop sign that apparently witnessed the whole thing. And I ran up and I tapped on his window, and I said, "That guy just shot up the Baptist church, and we've got to stop him." He unlocked his door, and we gave pursuit.
And thank God that he did, because, obviously you have to think from his point of view. He doesn't know. A guy comes up with a gun and says, this is a tactic that kidnappers or people who are carjackers use a lot. Hey, I need your help. And thank God you both got it right.
He did witness the exchange of gunfire.
Right.
He saw the guy shooting at me also, and he saw him run out from the Baptist church, and he saw him in black tactical gear, and me with no shoes on.
Right. Yeah. He might have at that point he might have said, "Okay, that's the bad guy, the guy with the black visor, not the guy with the Santa beard and no flip flops." So he lets you in. You've a few windows now have been shot through, and how far is he from you as you begin trying to close that gap?
He had a considerable lead. We did not even. But he left out of there, and we shot across a major intersection at full speed. And again, I had the presence of mind. I dropped the magazine because I didn't load a magazine. I just grabbed a handful and stuck them in, didn't count them.
Right.
I dropped the magazine down, and I looked, and I had 1 round in the magazine, meaning I had 1 round in the chamber and 1 in the magazine. And I pushed it back in place, He had called 911 at this point, and he was talking to 911. And obviously, the Wilson County Police Department and everybody else has got an active shooter at the Sutherland Springs church.
Right.
And so we started talking to dispatch and telling them that we were in pursuit of him going down 539. And they said which direction he was headed towards Seguin, north, 539. And they said, can you see him? And about that time, he came into view again. We started catching him.
Okay. So he comes into view and you start catching him. What does that mean? You start closing the gap? Do you bump him?
No. We were still 3 cars behind him, but we could see him, and you could see the back windshield was knocked out. And we were making up ground. And they asked us specifically, where is he? And there was a crossroad there, the 227 or something like that crosses and goes back to Lavernia, and he had just passed that, and we told dispatch he just passed the road that cuts off and goes to Lavernia. And we're letting them know where he is.
Right.
And we started closing on him real fast at that point, and he veered off the road, and he almost stopped, and I reached down and I started to open the door, and I had my rifle in my hand, and I was going to stand behind the door, and then he took off again, and he hit a highway sign and folded over the top of this vehicle. He got back up on the pavement and ran up about 100 more yards, and then down into the bar ditch on the other side, and stopped.
Okay.
And at that point, I told the driver, and I didn't know his name at all. His name's Johnny. I told the driver, I said, just get down. You have nothing. Just get down, get out of the fire. Just get below the dash. And I opened the door, and I got out, and I used the truck again to lay my rifle across the hood of the truck. And I started yelling, driver, get out, get out. And I was yelling a few rude obscenities, which is not like me.
Well, I think it's forgivable in this instance. I don't think anyone here is going to be too upset about it. So you're yelling, your rifle is on there. Is he, at this point, saying anything back? Or this is where he's quiet, there's nothing left coming from him? There's
no movement. There's no movement. I don't know. At this point, I didn't know what was going on in the vehicle, what was going on, if anything, I didn't know. And so I sat there, and Johnny said, estimated between 5 and 7 minutes. I'm going to tell you, it seemed like an eternity.
Right.
And I've got my rifle trained on the side window of the driver's side, and just waiting for any sign of anything. And I'm yelling the whole time. And I remember one time he yelled out, "Where's the police?" And just a short time after I yelled that, I was focused on the SUV. I heard a PA system come on and said, "Driver, get out of the vehicle with your hands up." And then I heard it again. I laid my rifle over the hood of the truck, and I walked back to the back of the truck with my hands up like this. And the officer looked at me and said, "Not you." Okay, I better go back. And I walked back up, but I didn't want him to think that there was any threat in me at all.
Right.
But that was kind of a funny moment, because I realized at that time that there's only one squad car, and I back up.
Right.
And so I went ahead and I held my rifle trained onto the car until I saw about 6 different police officers pull up, and I thought my job was done, and I put the rifle on the back of the toolbox to the pickup truck and started to walk back, and they said, no, stay where you are, stay where you are. And they drove a car up so that I could get behind the car and be shielded as he backed up and got me away from the scene. The Wilson County Police Department should be proud of themselves. Can I say something? And I don't feel comfortable saying it just anywhere, but maybe with you guys.
Sure.
If I had run out of the house, and maybe this is a political plug or whatever, but if I had run out of the house with a pistol and faced bulletproof vests and Kevlar helmets, it might have been futile.
Right. I know.
And I ran out with an AR-15, and that's what he was shooting the place up with.
Right. And it's
and I hate to politicize that, but that's reality.
Yeah. No, listen, and thank God that you did. And I don't want to draw any kind of politicization out of you. Unfortunately, the media is already doing it. Right before we came on here, it was Slate saying, well, this actually isn't true, this narrative, because the shooting was over. And you know what? Listen, I will do this since you don't want to, because you're so kind and want to focus on rebuilding and helping. When people say, why do you need an AR-15? When people say, why do you need X amount of rounds? This is why. Stephen Willeford is why. Is because you cannot take into account what a good person with a firearm, what a good person who obeys the law, who wants to help his neighbors, who knows his neighbors' names, who wants to go out and save their lives, or even needs to save his. You cannot take all of those factors into account, and so that's why you don't have the ability or right to remove a man like this his right to protect himself. And thank God that you did, man. I mean, I don't know anyone now who would say, I sure wish Stephen Willeford didn't have an AR-15. I think there are a lot of people hitting their knees tonight thanking the Lord for you.